Have you started a small business and don't know how to pay your taxes? Well, you need to fix that ASAP and file, because you can face penalties, fines. You can even end up in prison if this goes on for too long. I'm Kalilah Reynolds, and this is Money Moves JA, brought to you in partnership with Exim Bank's Business Advisory Service, giving you the tools to grow your business. Stay tuned. We also have a giveaway coming up. I'm joined now by Taxpayer Education Officer at Tax Administration Jamaica, Courtney Johnson. Hi, Courtney. Welcome.
Hi, Kalilah. Thank you for having us. And it's a pleasure being here on behalf of TAJ. And this is always the opportunity that we seek to enhance the knowledge and to show what is it that TAJ has to offer to the public.
You mean what we have to offer to you? Because aren't you taking our money? So many questions, right?
Okay.
All right, so let's take it from the perspective of a small business that has just started up. We know that in the past year or so, the Companies Office of Jamaica has seen a rapid increase in the number of businesses that have registered. So you have a lot of new businesses out there, and many of them may be wondering, how do I pay my taxes? What am I even liable for? So if I'm a startup business just in the past year or so, what taxes do I have to pay?
Okay, thanks for that question, Kalilah. First of all, startup businesses are what helps to enhance the tax net. And so TAJ, the mandate of TAJ is to help these businesses to grow. The first obligation is to educate and to ensure that as a new business, that you have all the tools at your disposal in terms of what is required, what records do I need to keep, how much am I required to pay anything? Mm-hmm. And the answer to that is you only pay when you make a profit. There is no requirement to make a payment if you have not made a profit.
Okay.
However, if you are a startup business and you file what is called an estimated income tax return, let's say as a sole trader, you would have filed a SO4 return, then you would have put on that return that I estimate that I'm going to make $1 million this year. Mm-hmm. Hence, your taxes now becomes 25% plus another 10.25%.
What's the 10 The 25 is the income tax.
The 25 is the income tax.
And
then
what's the 10.2?
You will have the 2.25%, which is the education tax, and you will have the 3% for NHT, and you will have an additional, in this case, 6% for NIS.
So business has to pay NHT too for the business? I thought that was only one of the personal income taxes that comes on.
Businesses, companies don't pay income NHT.
Right.
It is employees that do.
Oh,
and the companies pay an employer portion, a matching portion.
Right. So if you're a sole trader, then that's where
if you're a sole trader, that's where it comes in. Individuals pay these taxes.
So explain the difference in the tax liabilities for sole traders as opposed to if you registered as an
LLC, a company.
As a company. Yeah.
All right. Great. So for a sole trader, the tax liability is the ownership of the sole trader. The same way that the taxes, the profits are the ownership of the sole trader. Now, once a profit is made, and as the income tax law would put it, you have deducted all your allowable deductions and expenses, then whatever is left will be subject to income tax. Mm-hmm. The income tax on this individual account is after what we call the income tax threshold. And as you know, the threshold, and I'm proud to announce this, the threshold since 2018 has been $1,500,096.
But the extra $96 coming in.
Well, the government needs to balance it. Yeah, to balance it. So 96 divided by 12, you get about $8 there. So for each month, as a self-employed person or an individual or an employee, If your income is above $125,008, let's say it is about $150,000, you will not be paying 25% on that $150,000. You would deduct $125,008 because that's tax-free, that's income tax-free, and the little residual that's left, that's what is taxed at 25%.
Okay.
And now that's the income tax part of it. And then we have the education tax. So after, as a self-employed person, you would have deducted your expenses, and these expenses are business expenses. And Section 13 of the Act would have said the expenses and disbursements that are incurred wholly and exclusively in earning the income, you are allowed under the law to deduct those.
Well, let's talk about those, because I'm very curious about what some of these deductibles are. So if I'm a sole trader, or all right, I have a business, but I work from home, can I deduct my rent and my utilities?
Okay, that's a little controversial. Put it this way, if you work from home, if home is your base, your office, it would have to be the setup as in the definition in the Act of what is an office. There is an allowance that a discretion is used to give you a rent, a portion of what would have been a rent had you gone elsewhere to rent a commercial building. However, you could get a portion. You could get a portion of rent. However, what you can get are all the expenses, all the other expenses that are incurred in earning the revenue. Let's look at the ordinary business that rents a shop in a commercial area. They would have paid rent, they would have paid light, they would have paid telephone. All of these are incurred in earning the revenue.
Right.
Once you can tie those expenses to earning that revenue, then it can be claimed.
So you have to prove it.
You need to prove that these expenses were directly, wholly and exclusively incurred in earning that revenue.
And how do you prove it?
Well, if you rent a building, the landlord is going to charge you rent. So you need a rent receipt. And the rent receipt needs to be what is called a legitimate rent receipt. So it should have the landlord name on it. It should have, says rent for the month of June 2020 and the amount. And this is in rent in lieu of. And once that is stamped, it is now a legitimate receipt. For record keeping, it's important that you keep these as records, so that at the end of the year, when you're filing your taxes, you would add all of these expenses up and you can claim them as a deductible.
Do the receipts have to be in the business name, or can they be in my name personally?
All business receipts have to be in the name of the business. So if you're a sole trader, if you registered with the registrar of companies as Kalilah Trading, as Kalilah Fashion, then it would have to be in Kalilah's fashion. And it is understood that Kalilah is the business owner. If Kalilah is a limited liability company, then it would have to be in Kalilah's Fashion Limited name. If it happens to go in your personal name, then it is not considered to be a legitimate receipt for the company.
Then you can't claim it.
Not supposed to know.
Interesting. I was asking this question on Twitter recently, and some of the responses I got was that you can claim up to about a third of the utilities and a third of the rent because you're using it 8 hours out of the day. If you're using your home as your office, is that acceptable?
There are, like I said before, there are discretions that are exercised by the tax department, and these discretions are not cast in stone. Depending on certain circumstance, they will allow, because the truth is, yes, you would have incurred an expense for telephone, making business calls. Yes, you would have used some light. Yes, you would have probably hired somebody to be an assistant. So that's understood. Some of them, the discretion is let's apportion.
But what portion?
The apportionment, we're going to tell you a golden rule in tax, and the golden rule is if you're not sure what the expense is, take the lesser of the two. So don't put a high expense and a low income. If you do, and you don't have any receipts or bills, or it's not legitimately allowed, then when it's time come for an audit, what you would find is that the tax department say, oh, this is not allowed, this is disallowed, or we can only give you this, oh, you had claimed too much here, you should have claimed a smaller portion. So the idea is always claim the lesser of the expense where you don't have any bills to support.
Do you have a list of the allowable deductibles or allowable expenses on your website, or where can I find this?
All right, so the Income Tax Act and Section 13 gives you a listing of all the expenses that are allowed. And the list is not by any means exhaustive, because at the end of it, it says expenses that are wholly and exclusively incurred in earning the income. So some of them are not listed. Rent, you're talking about insurance, you're talking about entertainment, and these have their different stipulations. However, the list is not exhaustive. But you can access the Income Tax Act, Section 13. You can go to the Ministry of Justice website. It's there, or you can visit Tax Administration Jamaica at jamaicatax.gov.jm, where we list all of those. Click on self-employed person or tax professionals, and you'll find it right there.
But that wholly and exclusively phrase is probably one that causes quite a bit of problems, isn't it?
Yes, because when it's a wholly complete, once it,
because I might have a motor vehicle that I use for business purposes, but I also use it for personal reasons. So how do I go about claiming at least a portion of those expenses if it's not wholly and exclusively, as you put it?
Okay, so if you're a self-employed person and you can show that this motor vehicle is used for a business purpose. This is what I used to haul my goods. This is what I used to go to my meetings with my clients. Okay, the next question that the tax department is asking is, how often do you do it? So it's the frequency of use that will be a factor in deciding just how much. Do you get 50% apportionment, or do you get 80%? Do you use it 80% of the time for business and 20% for private use? All of those will come into factor. So it differs from person to person, but rest assured, some expense can be claimed in this area. What the tax department does look at is, okay, so if you didn't use your motor vehicle, then how do you get the goods here? You'd have had to hire something. So in cutting out that expense, then they would equate the market value of what it would take to have haulage to your company, to your business, and you using your vehicle and claiming this expense.
Now, all this sounds like it could be very complicated and intimidating for somebody who's new to it, who doesn't have any accounting background. Does TAJ have any resources to help small business owners navigate these waters?
We certainly do. We certainly do. Our website, jamaicatax.gov.jm, is a wealth of resource, Kalilah, and anybody can go there. It's user-friendly. All you have to do is to create your account, just as you would with Google or Hotmail or Yahoo. And once you've created your account, you would have been on our corporate page, and that page allows you to click on just about anything, from filing a return to keeping proper records to paying certain taxes. So that's there. And in addition, we have our tax help line, 1-888 tax help, and that allows you to call in at any time, 8:30 to 4 o'clock, and ask your questions and be guided. We have personnel who are trained in this area who can guide you accordingly. We also have our taxpayer education unit, and they are located in 4 strategic areas across the island. So you have the Kingston office, there is an education unit there, the Constant Spring office, the Mandeville office, and the Montego Bay office. Once you can connect with those, you can be guided from beginning to file your return to end where you pay.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Courtney. And next time you come back, you're going to tell us about how to file.
How to file. Excellent. My pleasure.
Here's a recap of Courtney's main points. You only pay taxes for your business when you make a profit. You can deduct expenses that are incurred wholly and exclusively in earning the income, and keep all your receipts to prove your expenses. It's time now for your giveaway question. It's an easy one. What is the income tax threshold? Answer on Exim Bank's Instagram page at EximBankJA on Instagram, and you can win yourself a lovely prize. That's it for this episode of Money Moves JA, brought to you in partnership with Exim Bank's Business Advisory Service. I'm Kalilah Reynolds. Until next time.